Thank you for coming. Welcome, Neil Peretz. After all these years, we've known each other forever, for a quarter century or
Well,
so. Is it?
yeah, coming up on it.
Am I saying your
I
last
think
name right? Is it
I think
Peretz?
yeah, Peretz. That's my best guess.
Yeah.
Like Peretz, pepper in Russian.
Yeah. In fact, I was looking back. You probably noticed a little ping on your LinkedIn because I was like, I've known you a bunch of years. Still didn't know your whole background.
You probably weren't early LinkedIn user then if you are connected to me.
I am.
Because I was in one of the first 100 users.
That's impressive. So you have a special badge?
No, but I was a beta user. So
That's huge. Well, so I was looking back. When did we meet? And it was around 2000.
Yeah.
Right? It's a startup, Libraria, and I figure we bonded together because people come together and bond in trauma.
there was stuff to figure out.
Yeah. So you were CFO, right? What were you?
CFO and COO.
Yeah. Right. You were a lot of stuff.
My own description was trying to keep the wheels on the science experiment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in fact, looking back, so I had to scroll through your LinkedIn for many, many exits, entrepreneurial starts and exits. I'm like, oh crap, you've kicked some butt because I started a company that acquired Library's assets and I've been running it ever since, right? So I haven't exited. I'm the failure. You're the multiple success guy.
Well, I gotta, if it was a failure, I'd, gotta leave it off LinkedIn and don't have enough space.
You've got even more than what you've listed?
I had at least one company that we shut down, and I had to force to shut down and return money to investors.
Nice. Well, actually, you had money to return. A lot of times people don't have money to return.
I still felt really bad
Yeah.
that more wasn't returned, but at least the investors got back more than half, and I nipped the problem in somewhat of the bud.
Yeah. Well, so looking back, I probably saw your resume initially because I might have technically been hired before you. I don't remember with hiring. You're like, how, Barry? Why do you have all these consultants working for you? And we're all sitting around the table raising money.
This was back in by the now where YouTube has their offices in Bay Hill.
Really? That little rent a space?
Yeah.
That's
near the graveyard.
Wow. That's well. So I might have seen what your past background was, but it wasn't until today that I realized, holy crap! First of all, you went to Tufts, right?
A long time ago.
Dude, I mean, I didn't know that. That's impressive. All these years, I had no idea you went to Tufts. It's good school. And then you mentioned MIT. Were you actually doing a real MIT thing? Because you said military science. What was that?
Yeah. There was not enough critical mass of ROTC interest on the fine liberal arts campuses around MIT. So basically, Tufts, Harvard, and Wellesley all had to traipse down to MIT at least once per week to do ROTC.
Ah, I see.
So I was in military science classes, among other things, and marching around the quad in my spare time, and the MIT quad, that is.
Literally marching around because you were in ROTC.
Yeah. We'd have little obstacle courses, see if you could march the patrol or the squad through without having them run into a wall, like the Animal House movie.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever visited MIT, but I've heard someone comment that they try to make people look small. Like the doors are huge, massive. Does that ring a bell? And you're like a little person.
Yeah. And the corridors are very long. The most prominent one being called the Infinite Corridor.
So we worked together at Libraria. You went off, and actually most people don't do this later in their career, but you went and got your law degree. UCLA, was it?
Yeah, for the U.S. and then a law degree in Europe as well.
Oh, that's what that other thing was. That's a European, but you are an educated guy. I had no idea. So was it also a 3-year program?
No. I was doing a project for the European Commission, and I decided to enroll in a master's in law at the same time.
Yeah. Well, obviously, law has been a big streak for your career. I've commented on this before to friends that it's best to know people that are entrepreneurial in your 20s and 30s, and like in your 40s and 50s, it's great to have lawyer friends. And usually in your 60s and greater, it's great to have doctor friends. Right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you've been kind of a combination.
And hopefully, doctor friends that are younger than you would be good.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about your stint at the Department of Justice, DOJ. Whenever I mention, I know someone that used to work at DOJ. They're like, "Oh my God, really?" So
it was a great place to work. I mean, very high caliber folks. Certainly not there for the money, because the starting federal salary for me, because this was adjusted upwards because DC is so expensive, was $55,000 a year.
Wait, and you lived in DC at that time?
That was adjusted upwards. That was with the cost of living increase. You could start at $55 a year.
Well, that's impressive. I don't know how you did that. I mean,
generally the GS scale in the government only goes up to not too high of an amount, but DOJ generally doesn't hire folks straight out of law school. There's only really one path in, and that path puts you in at a low price point.
So technically, because you had business experience, you had startups, all that, and then you went to law school, that was sort of a requirement to have real experience first?
No, they generally just don't hire people who just came out of law school. They want you to have been practicing for a while in some area. And there's one path in called the DOJ Honors Program where they'll have a few folks every year join straight out of law school or out of a clerkship. But if you go that route, which I did, your starting comp is even lower on the scale.
Yeah. I know I've told you a story because it's what I reflect on often. You came to visit me in Carlsbad several years ago, and the doorbell rang. My kids were still young. My older daughter, I think it was Lily. She was on one of the podcasts. They always looked out the window, and then she goes, Dad, there's someone from the Department of Justice at the door, and he's got bagels.
Right, that's our hallmark, right?
Yeah. So, but first of all, it's like the DOJ part was like, is it an FBI agent? What is it? And then, well, he's got bagels. So
It narrows it down.
it's pretty impressive. But I don't know, do you still wear that jacket once in a while, or you're not allowed to? That you have to give it back?
I don't have any external swag from them.
Yeah. Well, because people just, I'm sure, walk in fear, when they see it. Well,
I still have an SEC polo shirt, which is helpful for certain conference calls.
Great. That's great, especially because you actually helped the company go public too, right?
Prior
Go the
to
other way.
me being a lawyer, we'd taken a company public, yeah.
Oh, you've started a ton of companies. Every time we talk, there's another like
Wacky.
not wacky, but so as you look through them, what are the ones that stand out most impactful that you would sit in a rocking chair and tell your grandchildren about?
Well, I don't know. Part of the challenge is they're technology-ish companies, so I could tell my grandchildren, say, and it was amazing, we did X and Y, and they'd think, what? That's old. What's the big accomplishment there? I remember even when my kids were younger, I'd say, look, your grandparents on the phone. They'd hold up the phone. I don't see them. I'm like, that's their version of a phone. Why don't I see people?
Yeah.
So if I were to say, yeah, I help people do their email when they're out mobile, they don't have an appreciation for that. They don't know what a modem is. Dial up.
Wow, that's right. Was that Pocket Mail? What was that?
Yeah.
Pocket Mail. You actually still have that email. That's impressive.
No, I have XR Science, Pocket
okay.
Science. But we had like Julia Butterfly, who was living in a tree in Humboldt County to protect the trees, and she used Pocket Mail up in the tree to go send messages to her followers.
Nice.
And people yachting around the world using Pocket Mail to go stay in touch.
So
people get married. People said, I sent my marriage proposal via Pocket Mail, and she said yes.
Nice. Great commercial. Was that pre-AOL? Like, you've got mail, or is it around the same time?
AOL was out then. We actually had to go reverse engineer the AOL mail protocol, which was custom, so you could consolidate your AOL mail on your Pocket Mail device.
Yeah.
So I had a bunch of, I had some Russian guys from St. Petersburg involved in my endeavors.
Yeah, it seems like you always have someone overseas working for you, and then what? Why did it stand out as being like the one you'd most?
Well, it
reminisce
helped average people.
I
I mean, the question is, who do you benefit from all these endeavors? My last company that was doing machine learning. I helped companies.
Yeah.
Say, people are going to say, yeah, it was really great. I helped Royal Bank of Canada stay up to date on their contracts.
Yeah.
Dad, you're amazing.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it was kind of a cool problem to go solve, and it does have consequences for individuals. Enterprise software doesn't seem to touch people as much.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm thinking grandchildren that are more advanced later in life, because no matter what age, you could be a Nobel laureate, right? You could be the president of the United States, but then your youngest kids are like, I don't care what you do, right? But your kids are a little older now, right? They're in their teens.
My favorite sort of parody of that is they have Billy Crystal in City Slickers going to bring your parent to work day.
Yeah.
And he's working at an advertising agency and kind of bored out of his mind. And right before him is the construction worker talking. And the kids love that. And then this girder fell down and it was amazing. And Billy Crystal gets up there and says, well, I get these people to write jingles that no one listens to. And
Yeah.
what kids are interested in is quite different.
I know.
Being a truck driver, right? That'd be probably pretty cool if you
It's
kids of a
amazing
certain
how
age.
You nailed it. It helps a number of people. Pocket Mail did anyway. And so, what would you say is next as a startup that would be impactful? You're most proud of? Startup's kind of like a child, right? So it's like, what are you most proud of with respect to your children?
Well, there was another one that I worked on that's still doing quite well, but I was not the founder of it.
Yeah.
It helps small businesses get SBA guaranteed loans, and that is
that right,
much
Rick?
more affordable financing if you qualify, because most folks want money quickly, and the SBA application process is labyrinthian, and the result is it's often ignored, and actually a lot of the banks ignore it as well for certain reasons. They find the underwriting requirements of the SBA to be too high, so they say, well, I'm going to spend all this time underwriting the loan, and even though I don't lose money because I have an SBA guarantee, I'm not going to make any money due to all these underwriting requirements. So maybe I just won't even do loans below a certain dollar amount for SBA guaranteed loans. And essentially, this company developed a way to automate